Let's talk about raising our vibe and raising our vibration because there's some things coming down the pike that we're going to need better energy for. We can either stay grounded in the duality that we're in, the us versus them, or we can intentionally raise ourselves up into what my soul sister likes to call a bird's eye view or eagle eye view. Raise up above the duality that we see going on and take a higher perspective. Because down there in the us versus them, that's a terrible place to be. It's miserable. And if you stay in that, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be angry, you're going to be disappointed, and worst of all, you're going to be afraid. Because there's a lot of changes happening right now. And typically, us humans don't deal with change very well. How can we raise our sights to see things from a higher perspective instead of staying grounded in that duality? And one way is to neutralize that duality. Stand in that eagle's eye place and realize that everything you see happening from here to here is a story. And many of those stories have been manufactured, and they've been distorted, and they've been manipulated to control the narrative, to control what we think and how we feel about ourselves, about our personal sense of power, and about what the future is that we're all headed towards. If we're in a place where we're always talking about them and they as a whole, especially if it's where we put all our negative energy and our fear about what they seem to be creating in the world, then we know that we're down in the duality. We're down in those trenches. But we'll know when we're in our higher self and our higher perspective and higher viewpoint, when we can look down on it and we can see the spectrum of the story in understanding that there are strands of truth through all of it. Some just a smidgen, others the majority of it is what the truth is. But there's strands of truth in all of it. It's time for us to understand that it's not this or that, but most often this and that. It's both. It can often be both at the same time, no matter how much we don't like it, because we're so grounded in our personal belief system and what we think that we need to do and to happen for us to feel comfortable and happy and secure. Both things can often be true at the same time. That's one of my favorite phrases, is that two seemingly opposing things can be true at the same time, even when we may not like it. So, I'd like to encourage you to join me in the eagle's eye view, to get up out of the muck of where they want us to be, fighting so that they can have their agendas, so that we can evolve past this. We can move through it. We can own our power and know that we're so much more than what we've been told. That so much of who we are and the history that we've been given and the things that we've been told about ourselves and what we're capable of, So many of those stories have been manufactured. And so let's break out of this matrix together. Let's quit making them wrong. Let's see where we have something in common, even when we don't necessarily agree with that. We don't have to agree with it for it to be true, but backing our energy away from it, especially away from the anger and the rage and the fear, backing ourselves out of it keeps us more grounded, helps us feel a little bit more in control of our world, because it's all an inside job. That's where it all happens. So the majority of what we're concerned about that's going on out there, what matters more is how we're responding to it in here. Is it making our blood pressure go up? Is it making our monkey mind spin constantly? Is it keeping us up at night? Is it giving us gastrointestinal issues? Are we having to take medication for our anxiety and our depression? Look, there's no judgment about any of that. We're human, and we're doing the very best we can to try to cope with the circumstances. I just know that I feel called to try to help us remember to take the highest view possible, to both be able to manage our own energy and to have more peaceful waters internally when the storms are battering our door externally. We've got this, and we need to join together more instead of separating ourselves so that we can navigate where we are and especially where we're headed. Because if we keep doing what we're doing, it's not going to be a very easy path. I say let's build bridges, and let's do the best that we can to try to understand each other and to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, so we can meet in respectful civil dialogue to talk about our differences, not to try to convince each other why the other one's wrong, but to really sit and try to figure out how we've gotten to this point. And the truth is, most of us as individuals wouldn't have gotten to this point if it weren't for the pot stirrers out there, or the shift stirrers, as I'd like to say. There are people and there are entities with agendas that are keeping us whipped up into a frenzy so that we're easily led by our emotions, especially fear. Let's not let them be the driver of our vehicle. Let's make them take the back seat, or even better, let's stick them in the trunk. We're so much more than this. Join with me. Let's be more than we have been. This has been Alecia with a sage inspiration from askalecia.com. Peace. If you'll do me a favor and you'll like the video below and subscribe and hit the bell so you can get my future videos, I'd love to feel your love. And if you have a comment, I'd like to hear that too.